Hi, this is Marcus Pulis, and this is Voluntary Visions. And today we're going to be talking about democracy and looking at it through voluntarist or anarchist eyes. With me today is Mykl, who is one of our guest hosts, and this is kind of his idea. He's going to ask me a bunch of questions, I guess, and I'm probably going to pose a few his direction as well.
Wow.
And we'll have a nice discussion about democracy and is there a litmus test?
Yeah, so I have found myself asking a question based off of what someone had asked me, and it boils down to how do you know if you're free or living in a free society or you're not living in a free society? And of course, this is very subjective. Everyone's going to have their own opinion and say there's people out there today that say that America in 2019 is a free country. I heartily disagree. So then it got me really thinking, at what point would I say that we're actually free? Now, as an anarchist, it's going to be, for me, whenever we've localized all the way down to the town level and the mayor has the power over the town, calls the people and say, you know what, Mayor, you're POS, you gotta go because you're obstructing our freedom.
Right here, I think I'm going to interject a neat little, this is going to be a paraphrase, but it's going to be really close to a quote from Voltaire. He said that his favorite, or that his optimum government would be democracy tempered with assassination. And I think that is a really good way of looking at how to control a democracy.
Would like to point out for everyone watching that neither Marcus nor myself advocate for the assassination of anyone.
Voltaire didn't either, just to be clear.
Right.
His point was that nothing makes a government more honest than nothing. I mean, than being afraid to die.
And even if they're not afraid of their own death, politicians these days are not afraid of the public. They can completely go against you and make rulings that are against the popular majority, and it's nothing to them. In the state that we live in, we have potholes all over our roads. Now, we can go to the state and we can say, hey, fix our potholes. And they can say, hey, get out of the building. And that's that. There's nothing further to do, and we won't even talk to the politicians.
They'll even go farther and raise your taxes like they did. We live in Indiana, and they raised our taxes to pay for the potholes and then not fix the potholes. Because government is always corrupt. I'm an anarchist, so it's always corrupt in my answer.
Yeah, it's like even if you want to be a good politician, you are facing demons of corruption around every corner of take a little off of this or screw over this person for the good of the whole and all that utilitarian.
Perfect example is Rand Paul. You know, Rand has some decent ideas. He's got some good, and I'm not attacking Rand. I think that overall, Rand does a better job than anybody else, except maybe Thomas Massey, in the GOP. But he is coming out supporting Donald Trump, you know, and he's supposed to be a libertarian. That doesn't make any sense at all.
So the question becomes, how do you know that you live in a free society? How do you know if you're becoming more free or if you're becoming more oppressed, more enslaved by the state?
Again, Voltaire, you can find out who rules over you based on who you're not allowed to criticize.
Right, but right now we can obviously criticize Donald Trump. Most news organizations, if they're on the other side, then one or the other, they can criticize Donald Trump.
Yeah, but we can't criticize the media. Remember, because then we'd be fake news.
This is true. Right. So, and also, I'm not going to speak for you, but I'm pretty sure that Marcus, definitely me, we're not really Republican nor Democrat. We get to sit on the sidelines and
Laugh
watch all this hysteria take place and all this fake news from one person or one side calling the other side fake news, calling them fake news, and just back and forth and all the childish drama. It's watching the news is like watching a soap opera.
Meanwhile, bombs are dropping.
Right.
And the welfare system continues.
Yeah, where Republicans and Democrats really get along is murdering other people. They do it daily.
All the time. Both outside and inside the country.
Obama killed children. Everyone, because Obama is so photogenic, he makes great photographs. He looks great in them.
He looks good drone bombing children.
Right. Got his tile straight. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
I like what Jeff Berwick calls him. He calls him Barack Drone Bomber.
That's sad. So, Marcus, what could the government do today besides complete localization that would make you say, wow, our government is truly moving in a direction towards freedom?
Again, I'm a voluntarist and I'm an anarchist, and I don't think any government, I'm not a minarchist, I don't think that any government is ethical. But Rothbard talked about that we need to speak radically and accept everything we can. Any real step, and I'm not talking about, they like to talk about tax cuts when they decided that instead of raising it 15%, we'll raise it 10% and call it a tax cut. No, that's not a tax cut. That's raising taxes at a less of a rate. But real cutting of taxes, complete withdrawal of all fundage to any organization such as the CIA, the NSA. Now, I would personally say that a good step in the right direction would be taking all those alphabet organizations, CIA, FBI, NSA, all of them, get it down to one. If you're having a minarchist society and you need to have a federal police, you need one. You don't need 20 or however many there are now.
But on top of that, once you have them all together, because that actually moves towards a centralization, but with that centralization, transparency.
Right, and I think that also moving our society away from, and there's going to be a constitutionalist who's going to get mad or yell at me about this, but moving away from, again, I don't think any government is good, but moving away from a republic to a real democracy would be a good step in the right direction too. Holding a referendum. If you want pot legal, as an example, do a referendum countrywide. Bam, tomorrow we have pot legal. It would happen. If we would go away from, in this society, away from a republic, which was a great step forward at the time, it's way better than monarchy, but it's time to move to a real democracy. Now, my personal opinion is you get that down to the local level and you eliminate any kind of federal government whatsoever. But as a step in that direction, going to a real democracy would be a good step.
There's something that Marcus and I say a lot, and that is democracy is two wolves and a sheep deciding on what's for dinner.
Yeah.
So, Marcus, just so that you know, for these future questions, you do not need to tell us that you're an anarchist.
Right.
That is very well stated.
But the reason that I keep bringing it up is because you asked me moving in that direction, and I don't want people to get the idea that that's where we end. I am not going to be happy, though I have friends who are minarchists, and I will tell them, and honestly tell them, that I'm going to work with you. We're going to be friends until we get to where you're at. Till we get to your minarchist situation, we're going to be friends because that's in the right direction. Once we get there, you're not going to be friends anymore. We're going to part ways, and I'm going to be in favor of eliminating it, and I think by then so will you.
Yeah. So Marcus posted something on social media, I think yesterday, where it shows all these people in military fatigue standing in front of a tank. And up underneath, he was talking about gun rights or something like that. And I wanted to joke on Marcus and tell him that he's a dumbass for believing that the military is going to come and take your guns away. The police are. And then I realized on that tank in small letters was Sheriff Department. So these people were not the Army. And I'm a veteran, okay? I know what the Army is. I was in the Army. It looked like they were military. For me, I think a step in the right direction that would tell me that the government is going to move in the right direction is demilitarizing our police. When I was a kid, I would read a kid's book and show Officer Friendly talking to a little kid that dropped his ice cream cone. Now we have like special forces on our streets with tanks.
Yeah.
We get rid of all that crap and we go back to officers with tasers and batons. Then I believe that maybe we're trying to take a step in the right direction.
See, the thing is, I am for gun control of government. Take all the guns away from government and give them to the people. Presto, we don't have a problem anymore. And because I want Officer Friendly coming down the road with a taser, no gun, none. He's going to catch a criminal. It's got a gun. When I've got a gun, he's not going to deal with it. He's going to mop up, get a report, and scoop him off my floor.
The whole illusion that I should protect myself from a criminal, someone in a costume should, is BS. A policeman can come and take a report, but the onus of protecting my family is squarely on my shoulders.
It's your property.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is we don't today, and that's one of the steps towards democracy. We need to start recognizing property rights. If I could eliminate one tax, and only one tax, but I could just completely get rid of it, the one tax I would get rid of would be property taxes. You should, once you buy your house, that should be your house. You can do whatever the fuck you want in that house. It is yours. And there is no government that can take it away. There's no person that can take it away. It is yours. What you do on it is your business. Now you go hurting your kids, maybe your community will come and get involved. I get that. But what you're doing on your property is your business, nobody else's. So if we can get rid of property taxes, that's a hell of a long way of getting that done.
Okay, so next question. Since 1776 to 2019, what do you think was the greatest step towards oppression and tyranny of the American people?
The year 1913.
1913.
Well, the Federal Reserve is probably the biggest part of that, but also the income tax. There's a lot of things that went wrong, but probably the Federal Reserve is the number one thing. I think that it was a solidification of a lot of the monopolies that have been set up by oil interests and also steel interests and, of course, banking interests in order to control the American people. And with the combination of the Federal Reserve and the funding through the income tax, that's how we got to warfare and those ideas.
So modern day slavery, well, in old slavery, you would have iron shackles and all kinds of weird stuff on your necks that catch you. Modern slavery, your chains is what you love the most, which is greenbacks. Well, technology helps, and it is true. We would rather have a phone that can track us all the time with the NSA than a flip phone. But money is the real chains that we have. It has its place, but with the Federal Reserve, those chains become tighter and can be adjusted as they see fit.
Right, and inflation is the greatest tax, which most of our audience is going to know this, but inflation is one of the greatest taxes that we never see. The fact that 1 ounce of gold in 1913 bought you a really nice suit and was worth like $1. And 1 ounce of gold today buys you a really nice suit and is like $3,000. Should tell you how much wealth has been robbed. All of these people that want to increase the minimum wage or whatever, they're missing the point. You can't You can't raise, if raising the minimum wage was going to solve it, let's just raise it to $1 million, all of us work an hour, and then we're good. But that's not going to work. And the reason is because inflation would then kick in. You would then have things costing more money. And what the Federal Reserve has managed to do is increase the cost of things over time. But the solution, I think, moving forward is in front of us. And, I said our chains, the Felicia, which is what I call my NSA agent, so that when I hang up, I can say, bye, Felicia. But Felicia is monitoring us and all of that. That's true. But this technology, or at least technology that can be placed on this, is also going to set us free. And I think that technologies like Bitcoin and blockchain in general, which I'm not a believer that it is the be all end all. I think it is a step. And
so I think a common thread through what you're saying and what I'm saying, frankly, is that whenever you centralize power, it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
When you decentralize it, it can actually be utilized to help people. For instance, a gun is neither good nor bad, it's how you use it. But whenever you take everyone's gun and you have a military that oppresses the people, that's a problem because the people can't really fight back against that militarized force.
And it's the same with cryptocurrency.
Yes, all this stuff.
Or gold, gold, silver, any of that stuff. Within voluntarist communities, there's this whole, I'm an agorist, or I believe in voting. Why can't you just do both? I don't understand why there has to be a division. Because personally, I grow a garden. I try to work with cryptocurrencies as much as I can. And I have a family, and it's difficult. I have a job, all of that. But I do as much as I can. I use alternative sources. Like I do a lot of bartering and trading and those kinds of things in my life. I try to, which is an agorist kind of way of doing things. But at the same time, I voted for Gary Johnson. I didn't like him. The primary reason that I went in and voted for Gary Johnson really was because I lived in a heavy Republican district at the time, which I actually do still, but heavily Republican, and there was lots of people that were Republican in the area, and I got to say I went in and waved my Johnson around. So, so for me, it really didn't matter. But he was way better than Hillary or Trump. And the socialists have known this for a long time. They've been doing what I'm talking about for a long time. They don't give a damn who wins, just as long as it moves their agenda forward. Mm-hmm. And we need to start caring what moves our agenda forward. And I'm going to support people like I mentioned Thomas Massey. I'm going to support everything he does. No, he's not exactly what I am, and he doesn't agree with everything I do, but he's definitely closer to my agenda than many other people. And there are people that use different methods that I disagreed with. I think that, for instance, I think Larkin Rose is excellent when he talks. He absolutely, when he gets down to brass taxes on government, that dude knows what he's talking about. One of the things that he's talked about when the state as a religion is golden. But he also goes out and attacks other voluntarists, and you're not doing it right, and you're doing this wrong. And how do you know? How do you know that their way is not going to get us there faster? And maybe his way will get us there faster, and that's great. I don't give a damn. For me, it does not matter how we get to freedom. I don't care as long as we get there.
Well, you could also make the argument that if everyone does their own path towards freedom, and they're left to do their own thing towards freedom, then something is going to arise better. Yeah, if you snuff out everyone else's candle to make your candle brighter, it doesn't get brighter.
Right. It does us no good to have rulers in the anarchist community.
So the last question that I am popping on dear Marcus, he has no idea these questions. In fact, For the most part, I've actually changed two of the questions I was going to ask you while sitting here. So, Marcus, for the last question, we're told often that if you want to see a change in this world, you need to stand up and make a difference, which has always blown my mind. I stand up several times every day and go to the kitchen or, stand up at work. That makes no difference. And everyone's like, well, it's symbolic. You stand up symbolically. Still, that is completely meaningless. So, Marcus, my last question to you. Give 3 different ways that people can start making a difference in their life against statism on their own.
Do everything, I think first most important thing is do everything in your power to not feed the demon. If you can avoid paying taxes, don't pay taxes. If you can avoid, and I'm not saying do something illegal, to be clear. I'm saying every single thing you can to not pay taxes. If you can lessen how much money is going to that, then that's going to help. Number 2, I think that you need to work on how best you cannot need the system. I'm not saying don't use the system. I'm not saying, if you want to go to the grocery store and get yourself a tomato because you don't have any tomatoes, great. But however you can, use the system less.
Small steps.
Right. And that's exactly it. And the number 3 is probably the very most important. You're free here first. No one is in charge of you. No one is your ruler. There is no one who is in charge of you. I just recently did a Forgotten Freedom Fighters on Harriet Tubman, and that was the point of that one, is that she was born into slavery and she was never a slave. And the most important thing you can do in your life is decide that you are not owned by anyone, that you own yourself, and that you can love other people, you can cooperate voluntarily with whoever you want, but even when oppression is coming down on you from a government or from another person or whatever it is, keep in your mind you are free, and look for it. Look for opportunities to be free. Look for opportunities to step outside. Find a way to not participate in the violent monopoly of force named the state.
Good answers. Since he was talking, I had plenty of time to come up with my 3, so I'm not on the spot. So the last one that he said, I adopt that. I think that you could be thrown in a dungeon and be free if you're free here. Free men fight against the chains of slavery all the time. It's like to have courage means first you have to be afraid, and then you face that fear. To be a freedom moving person, you have to be enslaved so that you can work towards freedom. So you can just accept the reality of your situation and be free here and move out. The second thing that I would say is, man, I hope I don't forget the ones that I came up with. I think for the second one is kind of what we're doing here, which is voluntary visions. I think that by going out and talking to other people and expressing your ideas is good. Education. Now, you're probably going to have people slam you. You're probably going to have people say, oh, you're ridiculous. And they're going to throw curveballs at you and all that. You're going to have to think them through and then come back with a solution. And it's not easy. It's not easy explaining to a statist why you don't need a government to have roads. Okay? Because my roads. So having these conversations with people is healthy, but even more important is having these conversations in a way to where you are encouraging them to adopt ideas, or not even adopt your ideas, but just to understand where you're coming from, gain a new perspective, and that it's safe and okay to gain a new perspective. Because a lot of these people that are statists, they just haven't realized another perspective. The third thing that I would do Stop with this nonsense of voting for the lesser evil. That just blows my mind. Sure, if you vote for someone that's freedom oriented, they're probably not going to get elected. That's just where we're at. But what you're doing whenever you vote for Hillary instead of Trump or Trump instead of Hillary is you're telling the government that you're conceding with what they're doing. That you're saying it's okay. And even more so, subconsciously, whenever you speak something, you say, I'm a good person, your subconscious takes that literally and it says, okay, wow, we're going to do things in line with what a good person would do. If I would say I'm a horrible wretch, then my subconscious will take that literally and start living my life in a horrible, wretched kind of way. Well, the same thing whenever you concede to the government, you're telling your subconscious, you're self-identifying with statism. Don't do that. Be you. And it's scary to be an adult and to make your own decisions and say that I am responsible for my own freedom and for my own way to be. And I'm not patronizing either. It genuinely is scary. It's still scary for me. But by making these steps forward, you become more emboldened and you take a stronger stance against statism.
Absolutely, and people like to kind of tag on to what you were saying. We've been criticized because Adam is running. Voting is for the most part worthless, and we've been criticized because both of us know and support Adam Kokesh and his run for president. And people are like, well, isn't that going against your beliefs, and isn't that? No, for the first time, I have none of the above on the ballot. I'll be able to, if he wins the Libertarian nomination, I'll be able to vote for none of the above because Adam's not running to be in charge. He's running to dissolve the federal government. Which it doesn't get us all the way there. That's not the promised land. But a hell of a lot farther than we are right now. And so to go on with kind of Mykl's point in this entire thing is every little step you take, it is one thing after another.
So I agree with you that voting, it's a bull. It really is.
Right.
It's all a bunch of dog and pony show to bring on your next king. But at the same time, you're still able to make a statement that's heard, a statement that's going to piss off a lot of statists, even the ones that are running. Nothing makes Hillary or Trump more angry than when you mess up their vote by voting for a libertarian. Boy, it really gets
or Green Party.
Or Green Party. Yeah.
The thing is, my days voting for a Republican or a Democrat are over. Both those parties are gone. If they've risen to the point where they're in the running, Tulsi Gabbard is a good example. She is at this point in the two major parties the only really anti-war candidate they've got. But she's meeting with people from the Turkish resistance. She's meeting with them. Hello, they're in a war, in an active war. So could I vote for her? No, I couldn't. I can't vote for socialism. She's gonna, outside of her stance on war, she's a socialist. So I can't vote for her because of that. Now, was Gary Johnson perfect? Absolutely not. Barely voted for him. Barely did it. As a senator, would have been great. As a president, go fuck yourself. But I could legitimately walk in and vote for the Libertarian Party.
Right. And it's all about making that statement. I am desperately wanting to get into socialism right now, but I don't think we should. No. I think we should wait until another video and a half. So
that one won't be a half an hour long.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you very much. If you would, please like and share this video. And if you're watching this on BitChute, please hit that green button and tip us. Give us a little bit of money because we are trying to continue to do better content. We want to have that stick mic to put in the face of police officers. If you have cryptocurrency just kind of like to get rid of, I bet you I can hook you up. Comment section, and I'll get you that address. Anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate you watching.